Okay, guys, welcome back to the DS Radio Shop. So, I heard a conversation with one of the Desert Boys videos. The one who thinks he's God to all CBs. So, and I can't even think of the guy's name now. He had mentioned, but some weird off the wall name he claims was the best technician in the world. And I laugh because me and several others have looked it up, and the person doesn't even exist. So anyways, we all know the Desert Puppet Master doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And if you're going to open up a case to show 3 strikers inside, there's 2 things I see wrong. One, actually, there are 3 things I saw wrong. No one's ever going to put your shop name in marker on the box and then put a shipping label over it. That's the first mistake. Okay, come on. I mean, I've ordered radios for years. No one's ever put down DS Radio Shop across the damn box and put a shipping label over a portion of my lettering. It doesn't work that way. Okay, you order something, they box it, they ship it, they put the shipping label on, it's done. End of story. Okay, so right there was one mistake he made in his video. And by the way, the video was removed, so I don't know if he took it down or whatever, but it's no longer up, though, when people were making comments as to the condition of the box, this, that, and the other. So the other mistake was he opens the box, and if you look at it, the tape was already overlapped. Well, it's kind of funny how when I order a case of strikers or any other form of radio, they box it up, they tape it, they go, that's it. You don't see over layers of tape and like it's been cut before, and they don't use it's just basic packaging tape, guys. I mean, yeah, they do this off a freaking spool. It's not hard to comprehend. So I noticed that it was a different type of tape, number one, and it was overlapped, like somebody had opened the box already and put it on. And then the third problem was, if you're going to open it up and say these are brand new strikers, but then you make a comment, well, I'm not going to take it out because I've already proved my point. No, take the damn thing out of the box and show us you got a brand new striker inside the box. Just like the pallet, he's got a video about a pallet of all these cases of all these strikers. Well, here's the funny thing, guys. None of those boxes were full of anything. And if you look at those, they were all double taped, retaped up, and you could tell those boxes were not full of anything. So, talk about schemers, scammers. He's the number 1 king in the desert for sure. Anyway, this video is to point out a couple things. Him and his little buddy Jeff. So, everybody knows how I got harassed for a while. And Jeffrey Boy posted like 28 videos once upon a time and took them all down. Okay, well, he called my phone 3 times last week. He even emailed me. And this is what he wrote. We'll get back to this in a moment here, but I want to show you what he wrote too. So there's Jeffrey. Jeffrey Neely. See? Jeffrey Neely, so we can all understand that. Did someone toilet paper your house? Well, the joke is on you, Jeff, because the amount of cameras I've got here on my property, not to mention all the neighbors who have cameras, it's impossible for anybody to even come close, to even throw something in my yard and not get caught with a license plate ID or something. You can put I don't care if you put a mask on. I don't care if you want to, dress up as an 80-year-old guy. You get caught. It's just, there's no doubt. Okay, with the amount of surveillance around this neighborhood, you don't have any clue. But that's okay. Just go with it, I guess. So let's go back to this for a moment, and then we'll go back to the other reasons why we're doing this video. So I wanted to take the time to point out a couple things. Can everybody read this? What does it say? Is CB radio considered an HF radio? And look at what pops up. CB used to be a great communication tool. It operates in the HF, high frequency portion of the radio wave spectrum, 3 to 30 megahertz. What does that mean, guys? It means because it's 27 megahertz and it falls within this spectrum, it is considered what, guys? Right there, HF. Now, people would argue and say, no, it's just a CB radio. Okay, well, a car is just a car until you go from a Ford Tempo to a Mustang to a Ferrari to a Lamborghini. But it's just a car, right? So, anyway, so let's think about this for a second. Hard Drive was arguing with several people on the radio, and his statement was, stop using HF rigs on CB radio band. Get yourself a good CB radio like a Striker. Okay, so let's kind of critique that a little bit. Stop using HF rig on a CB band. Get yourself a good radio like a Striker. Huh. Well, Striker makes a 10-meter radio, which is what, guys? An HF radio. Okay? Because it falls where? Right below 30 megahertz. Because it is 28 to 30 megahertz radio, 10-meter radio, right? So, therefore, it is considered what? An HF radio. Okay, so now we got that out of the way. Strikers, Galaxies, Commexes, all those radios are not a CB as we know, like Cobra, Uniden, President, blah, 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 GE, okay? However, it's just a different brand with more functions and features. That's all it is, guys, okay? So when you have a CB radio, that's still considered as an HF radio because it falls in the HF band. You can't change it, okay? So we know it as just CB radio because it's non-licensed, okay? Well, back in the early 70s, they had license until they dropped it. However, it doesn't matter if it was still licensed today or not, which it clearly is not. But it's still within the HF band. So I don't care if you call it a CB, I don't care if you call it a Striker, I don't care if you call it an Icon. It's still considered HF, period. Because you're in the HF spectrum right there, guys. Okay? So it doesn't matter. So when he says, get yourself a good CB radio, get a Striker. Okay? Well, they're all HF purposes, buddy, because they all fall within the HF range. Dumbass. Holy shit. I mean, I can't make this any more clear. It's right there, guys. Read it. So when he's arguing about Strikers, this, that, and the other, I laugh because, he calls Striker a CB, which fine, whatever. I can call it what you want. I don't care. Because to me, it's still an HF radio. A CB is an HF radio. CB may not have the functions and features such as, like, say, a 100-watt amplifier built inside. It may not have the waterfall effect. You may not have a tuner built inside. It doesn't matter. Okay, it does not matter because it's still considered HF because it still falls in the HF portion. It's just non-licensed, period. But I like how also, what did he say? Oh yeah, that's right. Mr. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch there said that Striker is not considered HF. It's a good CB radio. Well, let me think about this, guys. Well, here's a little sheet that I made up for everybody. Let me get my stuff out of the way here. I got too much stuff on my desk. There's your modification. By the way, I like how some of the people like Dave White and those guys say you have to be licensed, you got to pay for a license, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. Oh my God, Stryker will give you the information for free. So anyone who says that you need a specific license to have this information, tell them blow it out their ass. Okay, don't listen to them. He doesn't even know what the hell he's doing. He sits at a kitchen table with a couple test equipment. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So anyway, if you read this, guys, when you're all said and done, and honestly, don't put a jumper into the radio. Just bridge it with solder. It looks a lot cleaner. It's more professional than it is trying to go and stick out a jumper cable, jumper wire sticking aside. Just put a solder bridge, guys. It looks so much better and professional. It looks like it's supposed to be factory. Okay, that's what you want. You want professionalism. But it says right here, hold function button, turn power on, turn channel selector. To what? Because on your display, what does it say? Oh my God, it says HF. What does that mean? It means the damn radio is a what? HF. So there you go. So now we can educate dipshit in the desert and explain to him that yes, every radio that you operate is considered HF. We all know it as being segregated, as in CB radio or 10 meter radio or an ICOM, Yaesu, Kenwood, Alinko are all full-blown HF. Okay. Well, I've also seen different forms of HF. I have seen monoband HF where you can get just 40 meters, just 20 meters, just 80 meter radio. They're still HF. Now let's move on. Maybe this is not becoming too clear for him, but I'm sure everybody else will understand. So now let's take and go a step forward here. VHF. Okay, well they make so many different VHF radios for so many purposes. Your police department. All the police radios are within what? VHF. Okay? So does that mean that when we say VHF, okay, well, that would be considered like 2 meter band is what we know today as amateur operator licensed users, right? So that means 2 meter band would be 144 to 148 megahertz, right? So let's take this here. There you go. Okay. For I might just Google it so you guys don't have to just sit here and stare at one page. You can follow right along, and that way you can find it for yourself. Okay. So here you go. What band is 136 to 174 megahertz? Right there, guys. VHF. Okay. But okay, so now we know that the VHF is this coverage. However, we know 2 meter band is also 144 to 148, which falls right in the middle. So it is considered VHF, obviously, for 2 meter band, right? Well, if you operate somewhere in here, I don't know if it requires license, where you require down, whatever these open bandwidths are allowed to, specific people with specific probably privileges or license, I'd imagine, outside of the 2 meter band, but that's still considered VHF on the low side, VHF on the high side, period. Okay, so you can use marine, police band, all that stuff. The weather channel falls right into here too, so that's all considered VHF. All right, now specific licenses are required, in different areas of the spectrum, but it's still considered VHF. So I don't care if you got a 2 meter VHF, or if you got a police radio, or you have a weather station radio, 162 megs, which is usually 162.4, you'll find the weather station. However, it's still considered VHF. So you can spin it any way you want. So the point is, don't sit there and say that CBs are not considered HF. Yes, they are. Because it says right here, as you can read it, and it falls within what? The HF portion. Therefore, it's still considered HF to some formality. Okay? Same thing with VHF. You can't change it, okay? You can't make this stuff up, guys. Okay, 2 meter VHF, yes. Well, what about police band? It's still VHF. So you can call it a police radio, you can call it aircraft radio, you can call it, 2 meter ham radio. It doesn't matter. It's still all within VHF, period. So when the police department uses their radios, that's a VHF radio, okay? When you have different frequencies down here, marine band, this, that, and the other, or up above, wherever the marine band frequencies fall into, I believe it's up, it should be up in here somewhere. But regardless of where you go, it's still VHF, okay? So now, we got that part taken care of, right? And we got the CB part taken care of. Now let's move on to something else that was brought to my attention. No, I don't have time to look around for this guy's dipshit stuff, but I had to go here and look because somebody brought this to my attention. They started laughing and laughing and laughing. They said, Stu, you got to check this out because we know it's not your house. Clearly it's not my house. So this idiot, who's the puppet boy of Mark Sherman, does all his dirty work. He's got no life to live, just a drama boy. So this is what he has. Trolls TP DX Radio Shop's house. Okay, you guys ready for this? Let's point some factors out. Look how big this yard is. The trees. Look at all that space. So this is the house with the driveway, right? You see the house? You see the driveway? I like how he kind of did a fast one right here because he knows it's not my house. Now watch this. I'm going to pause it. Oh, what do you see? A red barn. Oh, look at that. Oh, another one. Wow. With a silo. And this is a country area. Huh. Well, if that's country, how the hell do we have a red barn and a silo in the village where I happen to live? So here we go, guys. Ready for this? It's like finding Waldo. Do you see a red barn? Do you see a silo? Do you see a huge house with a very long driveway and garage? I see my neighbor's garage, and I see my house. Wow. So, no, my house never got TP'd. Okay? So I like the people who claim that my house has got toilet paper, that says here. And that's not the case. It's funny how he posts this video, and then also I get this email yesterday from him. Did someone toilet paper your house? Jeff, will you just get off already? Why are you like so gung-ho over me? Why do you got such a hard-on over me? Why is it that you got to try to defend dipshit in the desert? You need to find better friends, okay? You know, here you made a one comment about you thought you were done with me, blah, 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 blah. You keep things going. That's the problem, okay? You don't get it. You're just a complete fool. And also, let's point out the fact that we all know phase lock loops do fail, okay? So this Connex radio here, this is what happened. This is my description, guys, okay? So the PLO chip was no good. It doesn't matter who it's made by, whether it be Toshiba, Motorola, it doesn't matter. I don't know where you're getting your information from, Jeff, but you really need to stick with the truck driving, which you're not even good at that, but at least stick with it, because you sure as hell don't know what you're talking about when it comes to radios. The terminology that he used was crystallator. He says, the PLO chip don't fail. Motorola built those to last. You should have checked your crystallators. Probably what caused the chip to act up. Okay, do you guys know what a crystallator is? It's got nothing to do with CB. I'll tell you what a crystallator is if you look it up. It's the removal process of pollutants from your fish tank water. So now I got to ask you, should I pour water inside the radio? Well, maybe if I fill up the estimator with water, will that give me better reception? If I change out the, I don't know, channel display and pour that up with water, I wonder if that would give me a better illumination of channels? Huh. I don't know. Well, I'm not going to try it, but I'm just wondering because I don't know where he came up with crystallator, but there's no such thing as crystallator to any electronical device, let alone radios to begin with. So I had to point that out. He took down the video. I wish it was still there because, oh my God, people told me about this and said, you gotta go look at this. So they keep sending me these damn links to him. I don't go on and search because I don't have time and sit there and stalk his stuff. But when people tell me, you got to see this, it's about you, well, then I got to at least look at it so I can defend myself. And I shouldn't have to, but, you know, everybody knows me. I've been around for a very long time, so it's no big deal. But I just wanted to point out the obvious that, no, my house was never toilet papered. Clearly, that is not even my house in the video. Wherever the hell he was, who the hell knows. And two, this radio here is the one I had fixed for one of my customers that, yes, had a bad PLL chip inside the radio. And the lock detector pin was out of lock. And there's a good way to test that in case you're not sure how, Jeffrey, which I know you're not sure how because you don't know what the hell you're talking about, let alone you don't know what the hell is even inside of a radio. You don't even know what the components are. But to point this out, disconnect, unsolder your lock detector pin. And guess what? If the voltage changes and it goes back to normal, that tells me the circuit's good. It tells me the chip is bad. Now, if it was the other way around, then okay. Now we go down through and we got to check out the VCO voltage and everything else and kind of go from there and see what's going on. However, this wasn't the case. I am very good when it comes to PLL circuits because if you don't understand PLL, you should not even be inside of a radio. For all the people out there learning how to do radio repairs, you need to understand phase lock loop. That is step one. If you do not understand phase lock loop and how it functions, you do not belong inside of a radio. No disrespect to anybody, but you don't belong inside of a radio unless you can understand the purpose and the fundamentals on how and what the PLL is, how it functions. If you don't understand that, you really should not be inside of a radio. Anybody can get in there, peak, tweak, turn, coil, spread things, put limiters in, blah, blah, blah. That's cool. Or pull limiters out rather than swing kits that they want to put in. Whatever. You know, if that's what you guys want to do and you want to create splitter boxes, whatever. You know, but that doesn't understand anything about the radio, which means if, say, this radio does not work, in this case, there was no transmit, no receive, the little green light here. See the green light? Okay, that will switch to red when you go to transmit. Well, here's a good indicator that if you know your microphone's good and you know you've got good switching network in here for the mic jack in, this thing should switch from green to red. That did not, which gave me the first indication to stop. Don't even worry about checking the rest of the radio. Go right to between your encoder and the PLL, okay? Something's wrong. If this is not functioning, something's wrong in the PLL, the VCO, the mixer stage, you know, your 10.240 crystal, something's wrong, okay? So you need to go there first and look. So that's what I did. And it took me right to the PLL, and it took me right to the lock detector pin, because it's the first thing I want to check to make sure, is it in lock or out of lock? Sometimes people get in, they start turning coils, and if the VCO is adjusted wrong, then that would also cause this not to go into transmit mode, because the voltage is not set. You cut off some of the frequencies. That was not the case. It was the PLL chip. It was no good. They do go bad. Not often, but they do go bad. It's made by man. It will be broken by man. It can be fixed by man. Come on. Everybody knows nothing is built to last. Okay? It might last a long time, but it's not built to last forever. It's going to break. That's just what it is. And for a little education for you there, Neely and Mr. Mark Sherman, 1/10 of a volt could fry that chip if it's not in circuit or in the proper storage styrofoam that's anti-static. You have to have something to protect that chip if it's not in circuit. If that chip was sitting anywhere and you touch that chip, it's dead. Now you go to put it in, it's not going to function, because 1/10 of a volt, you can't feel that. When you rub your foot across the floor and you go to touch a doorknob and you get that little bit of a shock, a little tiny jolt, well, I mean, it's enough to fry a chip. And sometimes we can't even feel a little bit of a jolt, but it's there with any kind of static charge from our body. So because of it, 1/10 of a volt can actually fry that damn chip. So this wasn't the case, but I'm just explaining, you know, they are sensitive chips. So you have to be very careful with the removal and putting them back in, especially putting them back in. So, because if you go to remove it and you find out the chip was not bad, well, then you got to put it back in. But I knew this chip was no good. I replaced the PLO chip with a brand new one, and as soon as I powered it on, it came right back into transmit mode, which obviously tells me, yes, it's right. Checked the voltage at the lock detector pin, everything was perfect. Went through, did the alignment, refilled the soldering, this, that, and the other, cleaned the controls, all the basic maintenance that I do on every radio. And everything came back to light just the way it should have. So again, PLL chips do fail. I don't know why he thinks they don't, but they do. So I don't know where he's getting his information from. And if it is from the guy in the desert, he needs to seek different information, because that source of knowledge sucks. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So anyhow, that's what it is. So those are the things I kind of wanted to point out. Is 1, my house did not get TP'd. 2, yes, the PLL was bad, so quit your shit about some some stupid made up thing that you created called Crystallizer. It doesn't fit the bill there, buddy. Got nothing to do with electronics, let alone radios. And 3, now we cover the whole thing about what the HF band is and what operates within the HF band. So when you hear people talk gibberish, do your own research, guys. It's not hard to do, okay? And if anybody's going to call a striker a CB, well, it doesn't really matter, I guess, because it's all within the HF band. So you know, it is a 10-meter rig, and people might call a CB as just a CB rig. Well, whatever. But it still all falls right in with the HF, so in my eyes, it's still HF radio, period. It may not have all the functions and features from, we'll say, a Ford Tempo to a Mustang, right? But from a Cobra to an Icon, you know, one has little amount of features and functions, the other one's got a whole shitload. Well, I'm happy for you. But it still all falls right within HF band. So it's still considered HF radio in the non-licensed portion of that spectrum. Okay, guys, now that we got all that taken care of, have a good day. DS Radio Shop. Got to get back to the bench to get my stuff caught up, because people like myself around here, we actually do work and we actually get our work done. We don't spend all day on the radio jamming it up, because we do have legitimate customers and always have legitimate customers. And we don't need to talk to ourselves on the air. We have people that talk back to us. Have a good day, guys. DS Radio Shop.